project that we'll be working on today is the letter file project. That would be this project here. The tools that are required for this project are carbide tip scriber, a 12-inch satin chrome finish scale, a 0 to 6-inch digital calipers, a calculator to figure out their dimensions, and their packet of prints for the project itself. As you can see on this particular page here, I've highlighted the different components there are to it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 different components that make up the project. 311, 314, 313, and 312. The blue area indicating scrap, which they'll be used later for their practice folds. Each one of those numbers correspond to a number on their project itself. 313, 311, 314, 312, and the 311 comes around and comes over to here as well. As the students get started, they're given a sheet that's 36 inches long. From that sheet, we mark off halfway, which is 18 inches, and each one of these sheets makes 2 individual letter files themselves. So this is all the student needs in order to make his project. The next tool that the student will need or machine is this particular hand shear. So that's got a pedal on the front so that you can push down. It's like a big giant scissors which cuts the material off where we need it to be. The material slid in this way, and this line that we put on there lines up with the edge of the shear in order to cut the material in half. One of the safety precautions that we tell the students about as they're lining up their material to be sheared off is never to get your fingers under here. When you push down on the pedal, this particular bar comes down and clamps the material in place for it to be sheared off correctly, and that'll smash their fingers like a bug. The first step is to put their material up against this guide here, which keeps the material perpendicular or square as they cut it off. Here's our mark there. We're going to slide that up underneath until it gets the appropriate spot for it to be in so that we can go ahead and shear this off correctly. As we slide our work in here, here's our mark that we're shooting for, so we hold it snugly against this rail, slide that up into the appropriate place. As I hold the material firmly against the rail there, we slide this up until our magic marker mark is approximately where we need it to be. We go ahead and push down on the pedal, which brings down the bar, and then we go ahead and shear off our particular piece of material. As we bring our particular material up, we make sure it's against the rail. We bring it up to the appropriate place where it needs to be. We keep our hands back away from the hold down bar, come down like this, and shear the material off to the appropriate length that it needs to be to do the job. Our first cut that we're going to make on the part is this cut right down the center of the part here, okay, of our sheet. Okay, this particular blue shaded area is going to be scrap, which we'll use to practice our folds with when we get to the folds. What I tell the students to do is we're going to take our 12-inch scale and we're going to measure this distance on our particular sheet to get an accurate distance what it is, and then divide that by 2 and then measure over that much on both sides so that we can cut that part cleanly in half. Now what we've done is we've put a block of material at the end of the part so we can rest our scale against that. We measure the distance here. When I measure the distance and eyeball to what size it is, I get that this particular sheet now in width is 11 inches, 980 thousandths wide. We take that and divide it by 2 because we're going to cut it in half. That it leaves 5 inches, 990 thousandths is what we're going to do, is measure from the edge here to this point here to make a mark on each end so we can cut that part cleanly in half and have two equal pieces. Hanging on our wall is just an illustration here in reference to what they can do is take a little bit of Sharpie or magic marker and put it onto the side of the part such that it would be used like Dykem, so that what they draw their line, you can see how the line here is a little harder to see than it is on this side. We keep this piece hanging up on the wall just to show the students by using a little bit of Sharpie how that enhances their ability to make sure they get the line where they can see it in the shear. Now, what we're going to do is take our calipers we could go ahead and measure the distance across from one end to the other and just go ahead and measure it with this scale and mark it. But a more accurate and easier way to do it is to take our digital calibers. First we clean them out, open them up, bring them home and zero them out to 0. And then we would set our calibers on 5 inches, 990 thousandths. Once we've ran our calibers all the way up to 5 inches, 990 thousandths in the window, okay, that would be the distance on the inside here, outside there, from here to there. Also, the distance from this surface here all the way out to this edge. We're going to use this distance here in order to lay that down on our sheets of aluminum and clearly and accurately scribe off the distance from this point here all the way up to this point here. What we're going to do is come here, set the edge down against there, like so, take our scriber and make a scribing mark there. We're going to slide our sheet down to the other end, put our edge against there, and make a mark down at the other end as well. Now in this particular case, we're not going to put it up against the edge like this. We're going to bring it out in the open where we can visually see our 2 marks, one at each end. And we're going to slide it up underneath and we're going to line it up so that it's parallel to our cutting edge across our shear to cut this piece off. Now, what I'm going to do is go ahead and bring this sheet up and visually line up our 2 lines with the table below where it's going to shear off. Be mindful not to put our fingers under there. I'm going to go ahead and press down on the pedal to hold it in place. Now you can see we've cut this part right down the middle, okay? And if you hold them up together, you can see clearly that they're the same length or the same width at both ends, so that when we assemble our letter file that it looks very nice and very tailored and put together. So these particular 2 pieces would be this piece here and that piece there, and then there'll be some scrap on both ends. Like I said, that's to practice our folds with when we get over to the brake, which is the machine in which we use, hand machine, which we use to fold this up to make the letter file. Now, the length of these parts here, this particular dimensions, are not very critical. We can be off just a tad on those and it won't make a big deal to the overall project. So we can just scale them out. So we put our block here so it makes it easier to measure from the edge. We're going to come out and we're just going to use a pencil, and what we're going to do is measure out. For the first one is 8 inches, and then from there out we're going to start from that 8-inch point and we're going to make 7.5. So the first mark we're going to make is right at the 8-inch mark, right there. And then we're going to measure out 7.5 inches from that point further out to the edge. And we're going to make another mark at 7.5 inches. That is plenty good for the particular project we're doing. Now, we're going to do the same thing for the other piece, only that one's going to be at 11 inches and 5.5. So we're just going to bring this down. We're going to set our block up to measure off of. We're going to measure out 11 inches from our block out, and we're going to make a pencil mark at our 11-inch mark. And then we're going to take and go ahead and make another mark at 5.5 inches out from there. So after our 11, we'll measure down 5.5 inches, okay, and we'll make another pencil mark there. Those are going to be our 2 cuts in reference to where we got to cut off for our pieces for that. As before, we're going to bring our particular parts up to here. We're going to run it against the guide here to run it out. We're going to run it up to where the pencil mark is lined up. We're going to bring our bar down and let it clamp. And we're going to go ahead and shear it off. Then we're going to run it out to the next mark, up to here, till it lines up. Make sure up there, our fingers are clear. Bring this down to the holding bar, grabs it. And shear that off as well. Okay? On the second piece, we're going to head same thing. We're going to put it up against the guide rail. We're going to bring this down till it grabs our part. We're going to go ahead and make our first cut. Then we're going to slide it up to the next line for our second cut. And we're going to go ahead and shear that off as well. Bring that down, shear that off. As you see, we went ahead and cut out all of our components in order to make the projects. We went ahead and numbered each component as it was on the blueprint so that we can keep track of who's who when we start to put our layout lines on there. Our scrap that we have here, we're going to use for our practice folds, which is this area that's highlighted in blue. Now it's time to lay out the parts. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started laying out the individual parts. We're going to work on part 314, which we've identified, and we're going to put the layout lines for these two holes that are going to go in there. We're also going to put a mark right here where a fold is going to go, and we're going to put a mark right there where a fold is going to go. So let's start out with, I predetermined with some Sharpie approximately where they're going to go. So we're going to turn on and zero out our calipers here, and then we're going to double check. We're going to run them out to 1 inch. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and now that we have it set on 1 inch, from there to there, we're going to go ahead and lay out this particular part. So we'll take and we'll put this up to there. We'll take our scriber, we'll put a scribe mark on it this way. We'll turn it that way. We'll run that up to there. And we're going to put a scribe mark that way. That's for that particular hole. We'll come over to do this hole the same way. We'll take and run up and put a scribe mark there. We'll come this way and we'll put a scribe mark here. And those are for the two holes. Now, it shows also a 2-inch dimension from the edge up. So that would be from this point here up to that point there. So we'll go ahead and set our calipers on 2 inches. Perfect. And we're going to go ahead and put this layout line from there up to there. Do the same on this side, putting our layout line from that point up to there. Now we have those two folds indicated in. Now there's one more to go, and that's a 1/2 inch this way. Okay, now this one says, there's a trick to this. This one says bend down, okay, not up. So if we lay it out on here, we got to make sure we make the fold go over the other way. So on this particular fold, we're going to go ahead and flip this over and put the actual fold on the bottom portion of it. That'll sort of indicate when we get to that later on how to make that come out where that works out. So we're going to put some Sharpie on there. We're going to run this down to our 1/2 inch line on our calipers. Perfect. Lock it in place. And we're going to go ahead and put our two layout folds for that right there. One there, and one there. Okay, that puts our marks on there for our folds going across. We're going to make this one just a little darker. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I don't like that one. Let's take and redo it. Perfect. Got it. We're going to now work on our 313 part. Okay. That particular one has two folds on each end. The first fold is at a 1/2 inch. The second fold is at a 1/2 inch up from there, or 1 inch up from the edge on both sides. So we went ahead and I pre-zeroed our calipers, moved it up to 1 inch. So what we will do is we will mark off right there at that edge. We will mark off a line at 1 inch because we're measuring from there to there on our calipers. We set our calipers on there, mark off an inch up, spin it 180, do the same to this side, the same to that side, and then we bring our calipers down to a 1/2 inch. Close enough. Put our calipers on there, put our line on across, calipers there, line on across. Spin it 180, calibers on there, line across. Same here. And we're measuring from there to there up, which puts that from this edge up to there 1/2 inch, and from this edge up to there 1 inch. That part's finished. We're going to do our 312 part right now. The 312 is 6 inches by 7.5. We got a fold that's coming up at 2 inches. We got 2 holes that are going in 1 inch up here this way by 1 inch that way. We also got a fold here that's been down the other way, so we're going to put that on the back side of the part and not the front, because it's going to fold down. And we're going to go ahead and put in our Dykem or Sharpie mark just approximately where they go so it's easy to see. We zero out our calibers first, make sure they're 0. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and get started on this here, putting our layout line for our hole there and there, 1 inch up by 1 inch over in 2 places. So we'll go ahead and run our calibers out to 1 inch. Close enough. Okay, 1 inch from there to there. We'll go ahead and lay this out now. So 1 inch up, 1 inch over. That's where that hole goes. 1 inch up. Missed that one a little bit. We'll do that one again. Do this 1 inch over first. One inch up. That's where that hole goes. And then we got that fold going up at 2 inches from there. So we're going to run our calibers out to 2 inches. Close enough. Okay. We'll set that down there. That fold will go in there. And we'll bring this over to here. That fold will go in there. Okay, that fold's done. Then we also got to put in this bend here, 1/2 inch over on the back side. So we'll take our part, flip it over, and make it from 1/2 inch up to there. So we'll run our calibers back down to 1/2 inch. Close enough. Okay, from there to there. We'll bring this around on the back side of that other sheet. We'll make our mark. We'll come over here at 1/2 inch. We'll make our mark. Okay, those 2 marks are in. The 312 is finished. On this 311 part, I went ahead and measured out just by scaling it, put some Sharpie mark where approximately all of those holes or folds go, so that when we go ahead and do the marks, that they show up clearly for us to see. So I've zeroed out the calibers, and I'm going to go ahead and set the calibers up on 1/2 inch, because we're going to go ahead and just run these in order. So 1/2 inch, close enough. Okay, 1/2 inch again from there to there. We're going to do this little fold here on the bottom first. Move the camera just a skosh where we can see. That little fold there will be at 1/2 inch. Run our calibers over to this side. Okay, now this one also comes over. We flip the part over. This one's on the bottom at the other end at 1/2 inch. Go to the other side. Okay, that one's marked. All right, now we'll flip it back over. Now the next one we're going to do is this one here, which is actually 2 inches from there to there. So let's go 2.5 from the edge. So we'll run our calibers out to 2.5. Close enough. We're going to take and put this one here, go across to this side, put it there. All right. Now, the next one is, actually, if you do the math on it, 6.5 up. I don't know if our calibers will make that. Let's see if they will. Nope, they won't go up to 6.5. So what we'll do with that one is we will take and, since our calibers wouldn't go up to 6.5, they're only 0 to 6 inch calibers, okay? I went ahead and did the math on that, and it's 6.5 up, so 6.5 from 11 overall. We're going to just measure from this side down. So when we do that, we come up with 11 minus 6.5 equals 4.5 inches. So we'll set our calibers from there to there at 4.5 inches. Now, as we can see by setting our calibers at 4.5 inches, okay, and we lay it down and we measure out to the edge. Let's zoom out a little. So go to the edge up here. It measures out correctly at 6.5 inches. So we're going to go ahead and got that on there. We're going to put our line across. We're going to come over to this side. Put our line across. Now that one's done. Now what we got to do yet is we still got to put our 2 holes in there. Those 2 holes measure from the edge here up 5.5 plus 1 inch down. So we'll go ahead and establish the 5.5 on both places first. So we're at 4.5 on our calibers from where we left off. We'll buzz that out up to 5.5. Close enough. We will take then and come over here. We will measure over at the 5.5. Put our line. Come over to this side at 5.5. Put our line. Now we got to run this down to 1 inch. Zero it back out, run up to 1 inch. Close enough. Bring it around here. Put our calibers on. Make our line across. Take it around to the other side. Put our calibers on, run across. Okay, now this part's laid out and ready to go. This is our little hand punch and die. I'm just going to put a little piece of scrap in here. Bring this down with the handle. Make sure you don't clunk yourself in the noggin. Take and push it on through. And it's just like a hole punch. It just punches through. This would be the punch, and this would be the die part. This would be what they call the stripper, which strips the material off of the punch. And as you can see by looking at it, it puts a little hole in there. Now, once that hole's in there, there's what they call a burr on the back side, a sharp edge right there. Okay, what we do is we take this drill that's put into a wooden file handle, and what we'll do is we'll put that in there and twist it around like this. And what that does is that deburrs that smooth as can be. This is as smooth as my bald head. Okay, now we're going to take each part individually. This is the 312. It's got 2 holes, one at that crosshairs there and one at there. We'll take and put that in underneath, and this little punch has got a little point on it. So we're going to line up that little point with the crosshairs. And we're going to go ahead and punch that on through. Bring it out. We're going to go ahead and bring it around to the other side. We're going to line it up. Punch it on through. Bring it out. We're going to go ahead and deburr it with the little drill on the little wooden handle. Make that nice and smooth. That wasn't very good. Nice and smooth. We'll go to this side and deburr it on this side. Nice and smooth. We're going to go to the next one. Same hole is true. We're going to line that up right there. Punch it through. Bring it up. Turn it. Bring it over to this one. Line it up. Punch it through. Bring it up. Deburr it. Okay. Last one. We're going to line up our crosshairs to punch through. Bring it up. Bring it around this way. Line it up. Punch through, bring it up this way. Deburr it. Good enough. Done. What we have here is a sample block of all the components as they are attached to a block so that people can see what the finished product look like in an individual farm. This would be like the 313, what it looks like, okay? This one here would be the 311 and 312 and 314 as well, okay? And what they look like when they're done and bent up. Now this particular part sits over there as well. This is a rendition of all of our bends. This is the bend that goes around for the top pieces. This is the bend that goes around like for the base. And this is our standard 90-degree bend for here. We just keep that sitting over here on this little peg just to show what the bends look like, all three of them, when they're just in a smaller farm. One of the ones I tell the students to really be mindful of is this 311. Here's a paper dowel rendition of what the 311 look like, where the folds are exactly as they appear there. But when you're straightening this paper dowel rendition out, you can see that one of those folds is up and one of those folds is down. And that's very important to understand on this particular part because you can easily get confused and bend them both the same direction, and then this would be incorrect when it's at assembly. This is just our hand, 3 foot long, what they refer to as a brake, okay? It's actually bends the aluminum or a sheet metal that you got up to a certain gauge. So what I go through with each student is I said, let me show you an example of the 3 bends. I say, leave one handle down all the time because it's a lot easier to work with just sliding your part in. So the first bend we're going to do is we're going to do that little bend that's on the base. So we're going to bring this up and make this 90. You can bring it up gradually till you get to where you want. Bring it out to your second mark for your second fold. Bring this on around so you get it to where you want. And in theory, in a way, that's that 90-degree bend that goes on there. Now, that bend that goes all the way over and around, what you would do is you would put your in there for your fold over on the top. Bring this on down. Bring this all the way around till it goes home against this top piece. Then you take this out, slide it out. We always recommend that the students put a piece of material in their part like so when they bend it around and squeeze it home. So you can raise it up here, bring this down and squeeze it home, and then slide this piece out, and that gives you your fold over at the top of your letter file. Now for your 90, you just bring it in and find your line, start inching it up till you get it to where you like it to be. Be careful not to overbend like this, because on your overbend like this on a little part, you could possibly straighten it out. But when you try that on the sides of the letter file, it usually bends like that and comes out not quite as nice at all because it never really wants to bend back here at the fold. It wants to bend up above that. So be mindful of that. On the base, we're going to go ahead and slide this in, bring this component on down on the top that pinches it and comes to where the lines are lined up. You try to get this as close as possible because that makes your part all look as nice as humanly possible. But on each part, we got our layout lines lined up with that top edge as it comes across. Now, we're going to go ahead and bring this up, and we're going to bring it up till we come up to a 90-degree. We're going to sort of bring it slow and gradual. Watch for the spring back. That looks like a pretty good 90 there. Okay? Then we're going to go ahead and bring it out to the next line that we have. Bring it down to where it lines up as well as humanly possible with our layout lines that we have on there. Looks good. And then we're going to bring that on around till that touches there. That usually works out pretty well. Now, that's the first part of our base, and it looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and slide this in around the back, and we're going to do the next side. These are done in order, so we do the one that's closest to the outside first. We bring that down. We bring this up. We watch it so we come to a 90. That looks pretty good. Then we'll take and bring it out to the next spot there. Come on, work out for me. There we go, don't be stubborn. Okay, bring this on around till it goes ahead and touches. And that's a pretty good looking base, all things considered. You know, as far as the angles and stuff go, that looks pretty darn good. We're gonna zoom out as far as we can. There we go. Looks much better. That's our 313. That part is done for the moment. Now the next part we're going to do is the 312. Now on all these parts, that's got any foldovers like this here, we want to do this fold over first. That's the first thing we want to do. The same way with this. This is number 1 and this is number 2. Okay? And if we're going to do, this is generally marked number 1, and then this fold down here is marked number 2. So we're going to do that top fold over first. We're going to line up our marks right there. Bring this down till our lines line up as good as we can make them. Perfect. We're going to bring this all the way around till it touches. We're going to slide it out. We're going to take another piece of material, scrap material. We're going to slide that in there. We want to let it stick out the edge a little so we can get it out. We don't want to put it right underneath just like that. That's bad juju. That's a bad idea. Oop, get underneath. Bring this on down. Fold it on over. Okay. Looks good. Slide that out. And that's a pretty good fold over there. Okay. Might want to take it, slide that over here a little bit. Slide that up there. Do a little bit more on this end. Okay. Okay. Looks good. Okay. Now, we got that folded over on that end. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do our next fold up here. This is just a 90-degree fold. We're making the 312. We're making the 312, which is this part here, comes down and goes over. Okay, and that's what it looks like when we're done. So the next fold that we're going to do is this fold right here, which folds right across here and then bends up for that part right there. Come back over here. Give a look-see. We're going to sit there and slide this in. We're going to bring this down so our lines line up as well as possible. Okay. We're going to bend this up now. Here again, be careful of that 90. This is where it comes in where we don't want to overbend. That's a bad idea if we do. We'll be unhappy. Looks like a good bend on our 90. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and call that a day right there. That one's done. Okay. Next part we're going to do is our 314. We're going to do our fold over first. We laid it out on the correct side. So we lay this down. We line up our marks till our marks look really good. Bring this on down till it's as well can be expected. We'll bring this on around and go home with it. We'll slide this on out. We'll take a piece of material. We'll slide that in there like so. Then we'll take and go ahead and raise this up. Bring this on down. Okay. I'm going to spin it around this way where we fold it kind of nice and even across. Okay. Like I said, when you push that in there all the way, it gets a little bit more difficult to get it out. Got that out. Our fold over looks pretty good. Now, we're going to do our next bend 90, which is across here. We're going to slide that on in. Line up our lines as well as we can. That side and this side. Bring this on up till we come to a 90. Okay, that looks good. Slide it on out. Okay. Our 90 looks pretty good. Here, remember I said be mindful of that overbend. We almost did it. Like I was saying earlier, the part number 311, okay, it's kind of tricky. So what I do is I have a paper dowel made up right by the sample parts to show the students that when it's folded up, it's just like what it should look like, but when you unfold it, to be mindful that one of the folds are up and one of the folds are down on the actual finished product. On the 311, we're going to go ahead and put our sheet on in our brake here, and we're going to line up our lines accordingly right to the edge as closely as we can in reference to that. We always want to make the fold overs here first before we do anything else. So we got this one lined up perfectly. We're going to bring it on around and up till we come home. Then we're going to bring it open. We're going to lay a piece of scrap in there, like so, and then we're going to bring it down and finish folding it over like it needs to be. Okay? Like so. Okay? Now we're going to go ahead and raise it up. We're going to do the other side. Bring it on down to where we can see to line our lines up with it. Okay, got our lines all lined up. Going to go ahead and bring it around, bring it home against the top, raise it up, slide it out, put our piece of scrap in there, leave it stick out just a little bit where we can get it out, raise it up high enough to where we can bring it around, force it down, put it where it goes. Looks good. Bring it out. We can take it, spin it around 180, and do a little tightening up on this side as well. Put it in there. Bring it on down. Okay, looks good. Okay, now that we got that under control, we'll go ahead and do our folds 90. We'll do our short one first. Let's see. We'll do our short one first. We'll line our lines up so they line up just as perfect as we can get them to line up. Looks good right there. We'll go ahead and bring this up to where it's 90. That looks pretty good. Bring this on out. Slide this on around. Okay. Then we're going to bring it on down on this side. Looks good. We're going to bring this one on up nice and slow. Inchworm it up till we got it where we want it to be. Get that standing up on 90. Looks good. Then we can slide this on out. Okay, that part now on the 311 is complete as far as the bends go. Now we're ready for assembly. We're getting ready to assemble right now, and you can see we got all our parts all folded up and ready to go. We have our 313, which is the base, which is the part that goes down here on the front. We have our 312, which is our part that goes in the back, which stands up right back here. That's our 312. We have our 314, which is the part that goes right in here for this portion. And we have our part number 311, which does both this piece back here and this piece up here. And we're going to go ahead and assemble them by using pop rivets in the bottom, 6 pop rivets, and we have to transfer the holes from here on into our base. So the holes that are punched already through our bent up components will be then transferred into our base, and then we'll put our pop rivets in and assemble. We have 2 assembly kits on our tool cart, and in each red assembly kit we have a air-powered drill, a practice part for the pop rivets to do the installation with, a bag of pop rivets, 1/8-inch diameter. We have 4 clamps to clamp the part together with on the assembly. We have a little stripper tool that we use to strip off the head of the pop rivets when we make a mistake and have to disassemble it. This helps with that process. We also have the pop rivet gun with a variety of different heads for different size pop rivets. This is the size we use for the pop rivets that we have, and I'll demonstrate how this works in just a moment. How this pop rivet gun works, these are the pop rivets that we use for the pop rivet gun. These are just 1/8 inch long pop rivets. Like I said, this takes a variety of different sizes. This is just the size we elected to use. You slide the pop rivet in there, and then you push the pop rivet through the holes that you're going to pop rivet two pieces together in. You set that, we're just putting this for an example, this is just a practice piece to show students how to use it. You apply pressure and a downward force going down right here in this direction. At the same time you're doing that, you're squeezing this, and that draws the pin up through into the rivet. And if it doesn't pop, you know that you got to get another bite on it and go like this and do it again until you hear it pop, like that. And then what comes out is this piece here. And what you've done is you've drawn that rivet up like this into the particular piece of the metal, and what it does is it breaks it off there and literally holds the two together. Because we have two kits in order to do assembly lift, we have two stations set up with these wooden blocks in them where you can take and assemble the uprights to the base, clamp them in place with 4 clamps, and then transfer the holes through these parts into the base so you have clear holes through to put your pop rivets in. We tell the students drill right into the block of wood. Don't be concerned, because we're trying to drill through the base that's underneath the top uprights. What we'll be using to put the holes in with is this air pneumatic drill. Okay, we put a little bit of a muffler on it to try to quiet it down as it goes and drills the holes in. We're going to now set up to begin the drilling operation. You put the line of drill up with the hole there, and then we take and we're going to start to drill and drill the hole in. Okay, now we're ready for the assembly process of the letter file. So what we'll do is our holes are to line up with each other through the bottom part, the base itself. So what we're going to do is begin the assembly. We'll put our pop rivet in where it goes. We will take and set that into the hole itself. Drop it down into the base. I say that, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and push down on it this way as we apply pressure. Get another bite. Push that off to the side, and you can see that pop rivets in. Don't be concerned about the lineup, because you can slide these around to make them go where you wish them to be to reline everything up. Okay, we'll put another pop rivet in there. Okay, spin it around. We got our next pop rivet. We'll put pressure in a downward motion there. That's our next pop rivet. Okay, set that aside. I want to go ahead and establish this one here. So we're going to go ahead and put our pop rivet in there, put it down into the hole, again pushing down this way, and we're going to squeeze it. There we go. Now we want to push down because we want them pop rivets to sit flush on the top. We'll spin it around this way to catch the other side. Another pop rivet in. Push it through the hole, pressure down, squeeze, squeeze again. That one gone. 2 more to go and we've got this project wound up. Push it in, push it down. That's that one. One more, we can call this a done project. In there like so, around, push down, squeeze. Okay, voila. One finished letter file. On your letter file project, this one now is all completed and ready for the inspection process. On the inspection process and turning in your paperwork, student will take and tear this piece off. They will fill in the appropriate information at the top and reference their name, class number, who it is. Okay, then where it has class instructor modification, that's where I would fill in there, okay, and assess it a score. On this here, I would look it over to see how well it's done, how well it's put together, the attention to detail, how someone give it every consideration as far as doing the best job they can. Then I would take a particular air motor with an abrasive sanding pad, and what I would do is give it a little mark like that on the bottom. That would mean that this project has been turned in for a grade, and that gets returned to the student for them to take home and use however they wish. And then they would give this paper to me as a finished product.